So today I have a genius idea to check what is the color cast of my all ND filters and also mist filters and all filters I got. So basically I'm using my Sekonic and I got Godox panel as my standard daylight source. So it is at 5600 Kelvin. It is quite good, although there is a really slight magenta cast. It is lower than 1/8 of the correction gels, so actually you cannot correct it. There is no gel in existence to correct it, so it is quite good. And basically what I've been doing, I've been like pressing the filter against the sensor and taking the reading with the filter on the sensor of the Sekonic, and that way I can see what color cast that filter brings and if there is a change for the color temperature and if there is a green magenta cast. So basically I can see if any filters are worth it or not, or I mean you can still use them, but you have to dial in these settings into the camera, or you have to change the settings in the light to be able to actually dial the correct color temperature and correct magenta shift if your light is able to do it. So it is quite interesting. So I got quite interesting results. I checked like 10 filters. I could check some filters like VNDs. I could check at every setting. For example, here on the screen, not sure it's visible, hope it is. I got reading of the light alone, and then there is the same filter at different settings, so 1 stop, 3 stops and 5 stops, and you can see that color temperature is changing and is far off of the original source, and also green tint is introduced, so I have to use 0 to magenta correction to be on the neutral setting, and actually the light itself was on 01 green, so the color cast introduced by the filter is 03 green. So really, I think really interesting results. I will check the results of my filters on the computer, but it seems that some filters are like 600 Kelvin off, and some of them got like 03 magenta cast or more. So basically the colors you get with that filter are completely off. I guess it is a really neat idea, and now I know which filters I should avoid and which of my filters are quite good. So results are not very surprising, but they are kind of surprising. So basically the first line is the reading taken with just the light without any filter. So already the CCT is a bit off, but it's not that bad. And SSI for daylight is 74, TM30, color fidelity is 95, and saturation is 103. Small delta UV, and the CCT is a bit off, so this LB shows actually what is the difference between the reference light, which is 5600 Kelvin in that case, and the measurement. So this is -1, and this LB, the bigger the LB, the more off is the CCT of the light, and then CCI shows the green magenta tint. So actually the green magenta tint was so small that it is 0 here. So these 4 readings are for constant NDs, so those are Vaxis around 95 millimeters, and these which are compatible with the Tilta Mirage mud box. So like LB here is the against reference light, so 5600 Kelvin, but the difference, the CCT difference, is against this reading without any filter. So the difference with Vaxis 03 IRND for CCT is really small, and this -2 is versus the reference light, which is 5600 Kelvin. The delta UV changed, but this impacted a bit the saturation, but the rest stays the same. So I guess for this filter you don't need to adjust the light or the camera, it should be okay. Then next filter, also small CCT impact. There is a slight magenta cast for this filter, and then the 4 stops 150, so I think that would be already visible for the human eye, and also magenta tint, not that big, but it's there. And this too does not impact the TM30 and SSI of the light, so it is nice in that regard. And I also taken the reading for 2 filters combined, and it is more or less the sum of what was for each of these filters, of 0, 3 and 1.2, so 5 stops, which I usually use for S-Log, either outside or with a window in the shot. So I'd say I have to adjust the CCT in the camera, or I have to adjust the light. And before I haven't got Sekonic C800, now I have it, so I can measure the light and adjust accordingly. So I know that I have to add around 200 CCT when I use these 2 filters combined, and actually seems there is no green magenta tint. Probably these values are rounded up, so might be the case that this was actually, yes, it seems that actually that was, here was slight green tint, and these two have a magenta, so it evened out. And I've taken also readings for Vaxis Pure Mist, again 95 millimeters constant filter, and Vaxis Black Mist, and the CCT impact is quite small. There is some magenta tint, so if they are combined with IRNDs, the magenta tint would be probably bigger. So I guess if the light have a green magenta tint, then it would be nice to adjust it in the light or in the camera. And seems no impact on SSI and TM30. So now the crazy stuff happens. So for Tilta Mirage VND, the CCT impact is almost 600 Kelvin, so it is really big, and this LB is already really big value. The bigger the value, either plus or minus value, it shows what is the impact on the CCT, and this is crazy impact in my opinion. So image would look warmer, also there would be quite big green cast. There is some impact on the saturation, but that might be due to rounding up the reading, because the TM30 reads 99 colors actually, and then that's the average. So might be that this is because of the rounding down and this rounding up, hard to say, but the biggest impact is on CCT. And then Vaxis 1 to 5 stops, the screw-on filter, even worse, although the green cast is smaller than here. And then I've taken second reading, the same filter, and then this was at 1 stop, and this is at 5 stops, and there's like 100 Kelvin difference, and the green magenta cast is the same, but the same filter, and depends on the setting in the filter, you got different readings, which is actually quite bad. This filter is totally crazy, like the CCT is really off with this filter, so no wonder I got problems grading footage from this filter on the camera, I was like, what is going on, why these colors are so weird, and that was actually the reason. And big impact on CCT, which is also the LB, because LB is the scale which shows impact on CCT, which is not perceived by human eye, because for human eye it depends on which CCT we are looking at. So a different CCT 100 Kelvin will look different to human eye, and with the LB scale, one in the scale is always the same difference. Again, green cast and small impact on saturation versus the original reading, but it's like so minimal that you probably won't see this, but the colors in camera will be really off because the CCT is totally different than what you set on the light, and you would have a green tint. And then Peter McKinnon, I always knew that image from this filter is much warmer than it should, which I'm not sure this reading confirms, but the reading is like more than 400 kelvins off, and there is also green tint, and this is the only filter that impacted SSI, but again the difference is really small, is 73 versus 74, so it's hard to say this would really impact the image, but the rest, for all these VND filters, the CCT change is very impactful, and also for each of these filters you got green cast, so your colors would be impacted. So really I do not recommend any of these filters, and actually I guess that all VND filters are like that, even if they are called True Colors, Hyper Colors, or whatever the marketing team calls the filter. And even if I combine two filters, two IRND filters, then there is some impact on CCT, and I guess that should be accounted for. So next time I would use these filters, I would probably adjust the light or adjust the color temperature in the camera and see if it is better than before. But really, like these, especially these readings are really terrible. I guess it was kind of neat idea to check these filters with a Sekonic, and now I really know which filters are okay and which are not okay, and I would probably sell my VND filters because they are not that useful, although they might be useful for photography, because then I usually use auto white balance, so they are not that impactful, but still there is some impact. So yeah, I hope it is helpful, and cheers mate.